What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Yammy Noob. Guys, I've got a confession to make. Something has gone awry in the kingdom of Yammy Noob. Guys, if you saw the title of today's video, I need to let you know that the Triumph Street Triple, one of our giveaway motorcycles, this fantastic sport bike, is not actually a beginner-friendly motorcycle. Guys, I know, I'm as torn up about it as you are, and it hurts me to say that. But it's very true. And so you might be asking, well then why the hell did you include this stupid sports bike in your beginner bike giveaway series? Well, it's because the patrons voted on it, the members on yammynoob.co voted on it, and that's why we did this motorcycle. So my hands were tied. I was taken off to the jail of Triumph Street Triple, as I normally am, and was tied and bound and gagged. This is getting away from me. Let's get back on topic here. This motorcycle, even though we're featuring on our beginner bike giveaway series, is actually not a great beginner bike. And also we're going to chat about what makes this bike in particular not a great beginner motorcycle, why bikes like this are not great for beginners, and why some people get it in their heads that they need to start on something like this. So let us chat about it today. But of course, if you don't know by now, I'm giving away this motorcycle for free. So hit the link down below, go to yammynoob.co and find out how you can get signed up to enter to win this motorcycle. It's not going to be much longer until we give it away. Early June 7th, I believe, is the last day for the cutoff. So check those official rules and make sure you are in before we are done taking entries. You can also go to yammynoobmerch.com and get yourself signed up that way. Every dollar you spend is an entry to win this motorcycle and our XSR 700 and our KTM Duke 390. And one final note, we've got something special coming in the next couple of days that is going to absolutely blow your mind. One of the fastest, most expensive, craziest motorcycles we've ever given away on Yammy Noob will be featured on the channel, and you're not going to want to miss that, and it's definitely not a beginner bike. But let's jump aboard this motorcycle and let's discuss why it's a terrible beginner bike. Honestly, it's really bad for beginners. Powering the Triumph to life, you get that lovely 5-inch TFT display, or maybe it's 4.5. Who knows? What really is the difference between 5 inches and 4.5? Maybe someone can make that joke for me. There we go. Come to life, little buddy. Alrighty, guys, starting this one out in motion today, we're going to take a little bit of a different route than we normally take. We're going to go here on 183 up north towards Capital of Texas Highway, cruise on some beautiful hill country highway, and get some good scenery going for you guys. So I think a lot of folks look at something like the Street Triple and, you know, obviously the first thing that comes to mind of why this motorcycle is not really that great for beginners is that it's got a lot of horsepower, right? This thing features 116 horsepower, and that is quite a bit, guys. That is a serious sport bike, and you should not be playing around with it. But more than its peak power, something that I think this bike does more than other middleweight super sports and sport bikes and that kind of stuff is it has a prodigious amount of mid-range grunt. And low-down torque and mid-range grunt is, in my opinion, what makes a motorcycle more dangerous. Because as a beginner, you might be a little cautious about taking a motorcycle up to, you know, 10,000, 11,000 RPM, whatever it redlines at. But, you know, when you're not cautious is when you're moving around the parking lot, going low speeds, and you whack the throttle wide open because you don't really know what you're quite doing just yet. And so in those lower speed situations, when you have a lot of mid-range grunt and low-down torque like this engine has, that's going to be dangerous for beginners because your throttle hand is not yet tuned to be smooth and gentle and to really roll on smoothly and to articulate correctly with your motorcycle. So I think that's the big reason why this bike is not appropriate for beginner riders. Jeez, this thing has a lot of dive. I'm going to dial in the suspension a little bit. Feels really wallowy. Maybe the factory Triumph setting is not so great. Or maybe I'm just used to hearing a triple soundtrack and having my laser precise race bike. That's probably what it is. Bless me. Say what you will though, beginner bike or not, this thing has one of the best soundtracks in motorcycling. That's for dang sure. Love me a triple cylinder soundtrack, and that induction noise, to die for. To die for. So the next reason why I think this bike is absolutely terrible for beginner riders is its price point. Specifically in relation to the fact that you were probably going to drop it, you were probably going to abuse it, and unless you are just absolutely rolling in cash, dropping $11,500 on a motorcycle just to abuse and drop it is not a wise move, especially if it's your first bike. This bike is also not really that simple. I think that a beginner rider should get a motorcycle that's actually a little bit more simple than something like this. This has 3 cylinders, fuel injection. I mean, I prefer to have fuel injection on my motorcycles, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this has electronics, you know, all kinds of whiz-bangery. And I think that your first motorcycle, it shouldn't have rider modes and traction control and all this other kind of stuff. It should be relatively simple so you can understand the fundamentals of riding before you get into having, you know, power modes and slide control and wheelie control and all kinds of stuff, because you're not even close to being able to use that kind of stuff yet. So I think even this, that has just a couple of rider modes, is overkill for a regular beginner rider. The other point I want to make is that a lot of people think that, you know, just because it is possible to start on a motorcycle like this, that they should. And that's a mistake. That is a mistake to think that just because you jump on a bike and you are able to ride it without crashing, that you are somehow a competent motorcyclist. You're going to learn so much more on a little bike. I mean, truly leave your ego at the door and don't jump on something like this, because if you get something that is a little bit less powerful, a little bit less unwieldy for a beginner, you're just going to learn a lot more, right? You're going to learn the limits of traction a lot more, and you're not going to be as scared of it. Because that's something that a lot of guys don't like to talk about, but truthfully, most people when they get started riding motorcycles do feel a sense of fear. And it's tough to admit that. I think it's really difficult for most people to admit that they feel some fear when they're on their bike. I know I certainly did when I started. Getting on the highway and having a huge semi-truck pass me when I'm on this itty-bitty little motorcycle was pretty frightening. And that sense of fear is only going to be amplified if you don't feel like you're fully in control of your machine. If you feel like the machine is kind of controlling you, or if you feel like it's just getting a little bit out of control, you know, that's not going to be great for your riding abilities going forward in the future. Speaking of costs as well, you know, this motorcycle, it's not just the entry cost that is going to be expensive, but it's also the running cost, right? This bike features the standard sport bike tire size, and if you're just getting started out, you might go and, you know, swap the same OE replacement tires because you don't really know if you need something less aggressive or more aggressive depending on what you're doing with it. And you're probably going to be shocked to find out that a brand new Rossi 3 at the rear is probably going to cost you damn near $200 or more, and then plus the install, all of a sudden you're looking at spending, you know, $250 just to get a new tire on your bike. Just one new tire. Whereas something like an R3 or a Ninja 400 with that little 150 it has at the rear, let's open this thing up a little, shall we? What a lovely soundtrack. Whereas something like the R3 or the Ninja 400s with the little 150s they have at the rear, you know, those bikes have a lot fewer running costs. That tire's not going to cost as much as something that's on this. There's also something to be said that, you know, it's just like, you got to enjoy the journey of it too. I think if you start off on something like this, you're not really going to understand what makes this bike so amazing, you know? Why it's so great to ride, why it has such a lovely mid-range power, why the handling is so razor sharp. If you are just jumping straight into it, you'll have no reference point, and then you just won't understand what makes it so great. Motorcycling, if you take it seriously, can be a lifelong journey and can be something that is so deeply satisfying and gratifying to your life. It can be something so additive and can give you so many experiences that you never thought possible. You can meet so many cool people, and, you know, just, I guess to sound like a bit of a hippie, just understand the journey, you know? Take the journey in one step at a time and know that you're on your path, and there's nothing wrong with starting at the point that everyone else starts at. This thing has such a lovely mid-range sense of power and speed. It's so good for road duty, and these ergonomics on this bike make it such a fantastic street-oriented sport bike. The Triumph Street Turbo is just such a gem of a bike. It's so good. It's so freaking sweet. I think another big point that people don't love talking about why these bikes are so inappropriate for beginner riders are the brakes. I think more so than horsepower and torque and all that, you're getting two huge dual disc brakes up front with a Brembo master cylinder. I mean, this thing has brakes that'll pull your eyeballs out of your head, you know? They are incredibly powerful. If you are not used to pulling in your brake lever with a reasonable amount of pressure and dialing it in as you trail towards your corners and using it correctly, this thing could just lock up and flip on you without you really even realizing what's happening. And again, guys, the low speed stuff is really pretty simple, you know? Getting on a motorcycle and being able to pull out the clutch and ride it correctly is not the craziest thing in the world. The difficult part comes in managing all of that stuff and managing traffic and managing your corner speeds and everything else. And when you're on a platform like this, it is not going to be easy to do that when you're concerned about the power output. Because that is a big thing, you know, not only the brakes and everything else, but the power output is prodigious for a beginner rider. You're not going to be, it's just not a great option. So you might be asking yourself, well, why did you include this bike in the beginner bike giveaway series then, Yami? And again, I told you guys, it's because it was voted on. And because I kind of wanted to throw in a wild card to what we were doing, because I realized that a lot of folks were interested in the series, and we had a lot of experienced riders wanting the beginner bikes for very different reasons than the beginners wanted them, right? We had a ton of guys that I saw on our Discord being like, oh man, I'd love to win the R3 because I'm going to turn it into a track bike. And I was like, hell yeah, that's a great thing to do. I would do that too. And so I wanted to include a motorcycle that someone else could win and, you know, be interested in beyond just the beginner bike giveaway stuff. But it's also why in a couple of days, you guys keep your eyes peeled on the Yami Noob channel, because we are launching something very special and very cool that I am extremely excited about, and that is going to blow you guys away, and it'll finally give our more experienced viewers something to be interested in. I know it's very interesting for me, so definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Alright guys, so to summarize this video, reasons why this is a bad beginner bike. Obviously it's top end power, but more importantly it's the mid-range grunt that this triple has in particular. Has a lot of mid-range grunt. The other reason is that it is pretty expensive. If you get a new bike, you're probably going to drop it and this and that, so why would you spend $11,500 on a bike that you're probably going to drop? It's got pretty healthy amount of brakes on it, you know? It's a pretty powerful braking system on this motorcycle, and you got to really be careful with it. So, you know, definitely understand that if you are getting this motorcycle, it's going to have a very powerful braking system and could definitely put you on your butt if you're not careful. And the final reason is just, you know, a little bit more esoteric, a little bit more hippie-like, I suppose, is just enjoy the journey, you know? Start off on a smaller bike, because you got your whole life to buy leader bikes and street triples and dual sports and all kinds of stuff. It's important to make sure that you have a nice, long, good journey on your motorcycle. So with that, everybody, I will bid you adieu. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hopefully you learned something. If you're thinking about picking up one of these motorcycles, definitely understand it is a serious piece of kit. It is a proper super sport motorcycle, not in ergonomics, but in the way it develops power. It is a rapid little thing. And if you want to win this one in particular, hit the link down below, go to yaminoob.co and sign up. You can also, if you sign up, get to see what our new big reveal is going to be, because it's all over the Discord channel, and you can see that. And then also go to yaminoobmerch.com if you want to just do a one and done, you know, buy a piece of merch, get entered to win, and then call it good. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later.